Hello everyone, Ron here from L.T.L. Tutoring Central, and today I want to talk to you about tests and exams. Now don't run away, exams don't have to be so scary. This video is going to give you some tips to do well on your next test or exam. Of course, the biggest tip is to get started on the very first day of your semester or term or year, depending on what school system you're in, and use all the good study skills and habits from that day forward. But if you haven't done that, don't worry, these tips are going to help you anyway, and you can plan to begin on your first day next term or next semester and do some excellent work right from day one. You could take some courses or lessons from me to help you with that. I'm going to talk about that near the end of this video. Now, the first tip is I want you to find out what kind of test or exam it's going to be. Is it going to be multiple choice, true, false, short answer, matching questions? Are there going to be essay questions on the exam? Because every exam is a little bit different, and you should prepare differently depending on what's going to be on the test or exam. And some will be a combination, of course. Could be some multiple choice questions with some matching and true false questions, or it could be a short essay question along with some multiple choice questions, or it could be one or two longer essay questions that you'll be doing on the exam. So knowing what is going to be on the exam, or rather what kind of exam it's going to be, can really help you prepare in a different way. If they're going to be multiple choice and true false type questions, you'll need to know lots of facts and details on specific important areas, because usually with multiple choice exams there are going to be a lot of questions, but they're not going to go into a lot of depth. So you need a lot of breadth, a lot of factual knowledge, statistics, things of that nature, and you should be very clear on those. If it's an essay exam, especially a long essay, you'll need to have much more in-depth information, and you'll also need to know how to connect the different details so that you can write a good thesis, and so that you can provide supports for your essay, and then an excellent conclusion as well. So an essay exam you should prepare differently than you should for a multiple choice or true false or those kinds of questions. Of course, there's some overlap. They're not completely different, but there is a different way of studying and a different way of preparing for the different kinds of exams. The other point I want you to look at is what is going to be on the exam. Now, I don't think the teacher is going to give you every question and every answer ahead of time, but often teachers will give you a very clear idea about what units are going to be on the exam, how much is going to be covered in the exam, and so this can also help you so you're not spending time on units or areas that are not going to be on the exam. Always make sure, always check with the teacher, and if he or she doesn't say or doesn't give you that information, you're going to have to prepare for everything that was covered in the course, because there could be something from the early part of the semester as well as the middle or the late. But if they say it's on the second half of the semester, or if it's on these particular units or these particular concepts which were considered the most important, then you'll know exactly where to place your focus. And also, if they don't give you a lot of information, what was given a lot of importance during the course in the classroom when the teacher was giving lectures, then that's probably where a great deal of your focus should be, because if the teacher felt that that was important during the course, then it will be an important part of the test or exam as well. The other point I want to make right now is set yourself some time to study for the exams. A lot of people study, I'd say study willy-nilly. They sort of study whenever they have time, but they don't set up a plan to study. And for exams especially, you should do this. Get your student planner or your agenda or calendar, whatever you use for your planning, which you should be doing, of course. If you're not, then that's a good place to start. And when you find out when your exam is, so if it's on the 20th, then you want to back up a few days, a week, and start planning which nights or which days you have time to sit down and study specifically and only for that particular exam. And often you're going to have several exams coming up in the same week. So you'll need to look at which exam is first, second, third, and sort of denote different days and times for each one so that you give yourself the time that you need. And you know which ones probably will need more time than others because every student is a little bit stronger on some courses, weaker on others. And then follow up with your plan. Make sure that you sit down in a quiet spot. Try to make it as quiet as possible. Try to eliminate all distractions. Shut off all your devices, unless you're using it to study with, of course, but even then, shut off anything that you're not using to study specifically for the exam. Ignore everything else, unless the house is on fire, and just focus on what you're doing. Multitasking is completely idiotic. Do not do it. Trust me on this. Do not do it. Focus completely. It takes some practice if you're used to checking, texting and checking your Facebook and doing multiple things at the same time. You know, it's a bit uncomfortable at first to just zero in on one thing. But if you really force yourself, you really practice this, you will see a great improvement in how much material you retain, how many connections you'll be able to make, and networking your knowledge. And this is really going to help you when it comes time to sit in that classroom or auditorium and write your exam. So there's a few pointers to help you prepare for your exam. You want to give yourself enough time to study. You can study with others as well, but make sure it's a real study time and not just chat on everything but what you're supposed to be studying. But still give yourself some individual time too. In the exam, it's going to be all you, your brain, and you're going to have to get those answers down or write that essay on the paper. So spend some time yourself making sure you really know the material. Oh, and before I leave, very, very important point here. When you're studying your notes, wherever you have your notes or however you've taken notes, or even if you're studying from a textbook, make sure you know the material when you're not looking at the material. I know this sounds crazy, but so many students think they know the material because they're currently reading the material. That doesn't mean you know it. Close the book, turn away at least, ask yourself a question, get someone else to quiz you maybe. See if you know it when you're not looking. We all know it when we're reading it and when we're looking at it. Do we know it when we're not looking at it? You might be surprised how much you don't know when you're not looking at it. And then you have to practice. You can write out answers or you can just say them to yourself. But you must be sure that you know them when you're not looking at it and not just immediately after either. Give yourself some time, come back, try to ask yourself those same questions before you open up your notes or your books again. Are you still able to answer most of them or all of them? And the ones that you aren't, now you know where your focus needs to be so that you can answer those questions when you're not looking at your notes or your textbook. Those are a few tips for now because I don't want to make this video too long. There's lots more tips and you can get some of them on a couple of courses I have, Become an A+ Student and Test and Exam Strategies course. I'm going to put the links on this video so you can check those out. And of course you can take lessons from me or set up a program either online or if you're in the Guelph area, I do face-to-face lessons at my location here in Guelph as well. So if you have tests or exams coming up, don't be afraid. Follow some really good study strategies and you will be fine. So it's Ron saying goodbye from L.T.L Tutoring for now. I hope to talk to you soon.